Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this week we have a lot to talk about with iOS 27 Beta 5 and Public Beta 3 releasing. We'll talk about upcoming MacBooks, iPhones, and much more. This is your weekly Apple News update for the week of August 3rd, 2026. Apple is buying a materials science company that is a company who creates simulation software to help with manufacturing with plasma-based technology. There could be something Apple has found, of course, that would be helpful in making future products, or maybe they need the patents or something else. But of course they won't say, but it looks like they've purchased the company. Now, the Leagues Cup for 2026 was showcased on Apple's newsroom as it's kicking off tomorrow on August 4th. You'll see here it says Leagues Cup kicks off tomorrow, August 4th on Apple TV. Every Leagues Cup match streams live on Apple TV as the tournament spotlighting the rivalry between Major League Soccer and Liga MX expands to Mexico for the first time. So if this is something you want to watch, they're highlighting it, and of course you can watch it as soon as tomorrow. MacBook Air continues to be a big seller to the point where it seems to be difficult for Apple to keep them in stock. This is even despite their recent price hike. However, there are still education discounts which could help, but according to Mark Gurman, there's a major shortage of the MacBook Air, and you'll see about 2 to 6 week wait time depending on when you order it, what configuration you order, and more. So we're seeing more and more supply constraints, but it seems to be an incredibly popular device, and if I wasn't editing videos every single day, this would be my main MacBook. It looks like iCloud Plus is going to have upgrade options for heavy users of AI in the near future. During the earnings call this past week, Tim Cook said, "We do believe that there will be people that want to use it a lot, and we will have some kind of upgrade possibilities on iCloud Plus, where people can buy up the stack on iCloud Plus. We'll see how the pickup for that is." So this is not unlike other AI services where if you're using a lot of it, you need to buy more sort of access to the system. So I would expect that in the future for those that want to use it full time. Now, of course, Apple raised prices a few weeks ago, and according to Tim Cook, it was reluctantly. He said on the pricing front, we reluctantly raised prices. I would say we did it because we're in what I would characterize as a 100-year flood on memory pricing with exponential increase in memory prices, so that was the rationale for it. That makes sense. As Apple's prices go up, they're going to pass that on to consumers as they need to keep their certain profit margins. So it makes sense, but let me know what you think of it in the comments below. According to code found by Mac Rumors, it seems that the B card in Manchester is coming soon. This would be in the Wallet app, where you could add the transit card that allows you to pay for trams and buses in Manchester, England. Also, it seems Apple Pay is coming to the Philippines soon, according to backend code found by Aaron P613 on X. So hopefully we'll see that soon, and maybe have it launch in other countries as well. As far as app updates this week, well, I talked about in the weekend follow-up video about updates to things such as WhatsApp and more. However, the Apple Store app and online now offer a new Apple accessory experience. So that's as of today. If we go into the Apple Store app, maybe we go down to different things such as cases compatible with this device, and then we go into cases and protection. The overall experience has changed. You can select different cases that you want, maybe the clear one here, and see what it looks like on different devices, different colors, and more. So again, you'll have the option to purchase this just like you always have, but the overall experience has been updated. But so far, there haven't been any major updates to other apps, at least for Apple apps or anything else this week so far. When it comes to deals this week, though, there's great news if you're still looking for AirPods Pro 3. It's down to $199, and it's staying there, it seems. So I'll link that in the description, along with Apple Watch Series 11 at $299. And if you wanted to get your hands on maybe an Apple Studio Display XDR, if we go into the refurbished store, and within the certified refurbished store, you'll start to see Studio Display XDRs. Now, you may not see them depending on what country you're in or if they're available or not, but they're about $500 off. So be sure to check this out if you're wanting to pick one up. Maybe look for a discount, as it offers the same warranty as Apple's main warranty does if you're buying it new. Now, when it comes to releases this week, I would expect at least one release of iOS 27 Beta 5. We could also see iOS 27 Public Beta 3, and that could be as soon as today, later today, or possibly tomorrow. If you take a look back at last year with iOS 26 Beta 5, it released on August 5th, which was a Tuesday. The prior year, iOS 18 Beta 5 released also on August 5th, but that was a Monday. So we just don't know specifically what day they'll release it. They could wait until August 5th on Wednesday, or we could see it as soon as tomorrow. We also could see an iOS 26.6.1 in the near future or iOS 26.7 betas. However, there's no sign of that just yet for those that have been asking me, so I'm not sure that we need that, as iOS 26.6 specifically said it's getting ready for iOS 27. So unless there's additional issues they need to patch or something along those lines, I would not expect those releases anytime soon. Of course, we'll have weekly releases after this week's release, so I would expect iOS 27 Beta 6 next Monday, Beta 7 the following Monday, and then of course a public release sometime in mid-September. We could have 8 or 9 betas with an RC after that, so we don't have a specific time frame, but that's typically what we see. As far as the iPhone Apple event, we do expect that in September as well, and many people suspect it could be on the 8th or 9th this year. Now, we don't have a specific date. We usually get invites about 2 weeks before that, so usually around the 25th or 26th of August, so we'll have to wait and see what Apple does this year, but we would expect a similar rollout. When it comes to iPhones this year, well, the iPhone 18e is expected to get a bump of RAM. And with the iPhone 17e, we currently have 8 gigs of RAM, but this is expected to bump up to 9 gigabytes of RAM according to analyst Jeff Poo. Currently, the iPhone 18 has 8 gigs of RAM, and instead of jumping to 12 gigabytes of RAM, 1 extra gigabyte may be enough to do what Apple wants with Apple Intelligence and Siri in future devices. I expect the 1 gigabyte bump is due to the current RAM prices and to help keep prices down in general. Now, of course, Apple's still working on an iPhone Air 2, and we expect that sometime next year. The next iPhone Air is expected to launch alongside the iPhone 18 and 18e or sometime around that time frame, and analyst Jeff Poo again this past week is said to expect the iPhone Air 2 in the first quarter of 2027. Also, the iPhone Air 2 is said to have a smaller dynamic island according to the same analyst, Jeff Poo. So if we see that in the iPhone 18 series phones this year with the iPhone 18 Pro and 18 Pro Max, I would expect a smaller dynamic island in the iPhone Air. But we'll have to wait and see what they do in September once they announce those new devices. Also, it seems the next price of the iPhone 18 is controversial. The iPhone 18 Pro and 18 Pro Max could cost as much as $300 more to start, again according to analyst Jeff Poo. However, we've already had price increases from Samsung on their latest Z Fold series, as well as expected updates to the Pixel series as RAM prices increase and storage prices increase. However, based on what we've seen before, I would think it would be $100 more, if anything at all. So that's typically what we would see, maybe a 256 gigabyte variant at $100 more. That would seem to sort of fit more in line with what Apple's done in the past, but we'll have to wait and see what they do there. Also, when it comes to the next iPhone, the folding iPhone, I would expect to look similar to what we got this past couple weeks with the Z Fold 8 from Samsung. After using it for over a week at this point, I really like the form factor, and if Apple does indeed do something similar to this, it typically will have a similar size design, and I really think it's the right size. So using it with the main screen here, if we go back in, let's get out of the wallpaper selector. If we go back in here, you'll see that generally using it is a quite nice size, and then using the outside display, it does take some getting used to, but I quite like it after a few days. So this is something I look forward to with Apple if they do something similar, have sort of a similar aspect ratio, maybe slightly different dimensions, but typically the size is much better than I really expected it to be. But let me know what you think of it. Would you buy a folding iPhone? Let me know in the comments below. Now, one other thing to note is Apple also warned this past week in its earnings call that there is less flexibility on the supply chain and that they expect the impact from supply constraints to increase significantly. This could mean this year's iPhone or other products could be released in smaller quantities. Now, we don't know this for sure. What's expected there is Apple's already been manufacturing them as they typically do to get ready for the fall launch, but maybe we'll see a smaller rollout this time around, or maybe they'll stagger the rollout like they did many years ago. That's something I would welcome with the iPhone 18 Pro and 18 Pro Max, then maybe a couple weeks later push out the folding device. We don't know if they'll do that for sure, but I would like to see that. If there are supply constraints, of course it's great for reviewers where we get a little extra time to try them out individually. When it comes to Apple Watch, well, Mark Gurman this week said not to expect much of a change this year with the Apple Watch Ultra 4 or the Series 12 Apple Watch. Some have rumored it could have Touch ID, and others have said it could have sensors in some of the bands for additional health tracking benefits. But so far, we don't expect much of a change, but maybe we'll be surprised this year. So far, there's been really few rumors about what to expect from the Apple Watch. I know many people would welcome some upgraded sensors, things like that, and so maybe we'll see that. Also, if you wanted to get your hands on this band, I'll link it in the description below. It's from Nomad. It's the Stratos band. I've been using it for a while, and I really like it. It's very flexible. This is not a paid endorsement, but I will link one in the description if you want to check it out. Now, as far as the MacBook Ultra, we still expect a new higher-end touchscreen-based Mac to launch later this year or early next year. After that design, it should trickle down to other Pro devices. Some people have asked me about that. Will we get the update in the current Pros? And I would imagine we'll see that in the future after that design rolls out. Apple typically updates all of their products every 3 to 4 years when it comes to MacBook Pro, so we could see that as well. But this could be a new strategy with a higher-end product, or possibly something like the MacBook Air launch, where it was an alternative to what we currently have. But the MacBook is expected to be thinner and a whole new design as well. The display of the new MacBook is also said to be OLED and be manufactured exclusively by Samsung. This is according to the elect. So we expect a really nice, maybe a tandem OLED display, touchscreen. That would be great to see. When it comes to iPad, well, iPad Air could finally get a redesign. It's been a while and it sort of trickles down from the iPad Pro, and maybe that's what we'll see this time around. Maybe they'll trickle down this design and then update the iPad Pro to a new design, and that would be great. We sort of saw that with the current iPad Air design, but basically we're expecting OLED on the iPad Air as well. So if they do that, they wouldn't have to redesign anything. They could use this same chassis, maybe get rid of one of the cameras or the LiDAR sensor, and then just switch over to this design in general. So that's what I would expect, but we don't know if that's what Apple will do, but I would expect some sort of design change for that. Apple is also expected to launch a redesigned or updated iPad mini with an OLED display. The odd rumor about it, though, is it will be water resistant. According to Mark Gurman, he said to expect it to be similar to iPhone with water resistance. That's not a bad thing, but it's just sort of an odd thing to promote the iPad mini, where maybe the OLED display would be enough, but maybe they have some additional use cases for it. Maybe we'll get an iPad mini Ultra. You just never know what Apple's up to at this point. Now, Apple continues to work on smart glasses similar to these Meta smart glasses here that have a display in them, and according to Mark Gurman this past weekend, they could be used as a health device similar to what Apple did with the Apple Watch. Apple is looking to define the future of health, well-being, and fitness experiences across Vision products. So while they've sort of put the Vision Pro on hold, it seems, they're pushing forward with whatever glasses they have as far as the design goes. Mark Gurman also said to expect Apple to show off the new glasses at WWDC 2027 next June. So that's what we could expect. They'll be working on them for a while, and then of course we'll see what they have to offer next year. Apple is also working on a home hub, and we may finally see it this fall. According to Mark Gurman this past week, Apple is planning to launch their upcoming home hub device as soon as October or early next year. This means I wouldn't expect it to be shown at the iPhone event, but we could see it later in October at a separate event. Apple's done that for quite a few years, so we'll have to wait and see. But it's rumored to be sort of like a HomePod with a display on it that could be a home hub and utilize the new updated Siri and Apple Intelligence. So that's what I would expect as far as that goes, and I look forward to it as we haven't really seen a HomePod update in many years, and that's probably what they're waiting for. And so that's everything this week, what to expect with iOS 27, iOS 26, Apple glasses, iPad, MacBook Ultra, and much more. Let me know what you're looking most forward to in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.